Welcome to Ignite the CEO Within, the podcast where we dive deep into the minds of top business leaders to ignite your inner CEO. I'm your host, Mark McFatridge, founder of Quade. And with each episode, we bring you inspiring conversations with CEOs and business owners who share their experiences, insights, and lessons learned along the way. Get ready to be motivated, empowered, and equipped with the tools you need to succeed in your own leadership journey. Let's ignite the CEO within you. I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time. I am so blessed that I get to hang out with really cool, smart, driven people all the time. And today's guest is a really special one for me for a bunch of reasons. So Melanie Allen is the CEO and co-founder of Green Loop Marketing, which is a boutique agency here in Indianapolis. And while that's special and that's awesome, that's not why it's so special for me. Melanie has had an enormous impact on Quade and what our community of CEOs looks like today. And she has challenged me on many occasions to be better and to think bigger. So it's really cool to have her here and be able to talk about what the peer group has meant to her. It's also cool and special for me because I've been able to watch Melanie grow as a leader over her first 3 years in Quade. And quite honestly, she is my poster child for the power of peer groups and what I've always wanted it to be about. So Melanie, welcome to Igniting the CEO Within.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And what a great intro.
I've been working on it for weeks.
I believe that.
Not really. Hey, one of my favorite things about hosting this podcast is I get to share the unique and uniquely personal journeys of our members of the Quade community and how they've gotten to where they are and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to you and just jump right in and have you share kind of your path to the co-founding of Green Loop Marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we turned 8 this summer, which is crazy.
Wow.
Started in summer of 2017. And my dear friend and co-founder, Megan and I, we met while working at another job. We were both working at a company that was part tech company, part marketing agency. And it was one of those moments where I met Megan and we had so many mutual friends and there were probably dozens of ways we could have met before that moment. But we didn't. And I'll never forget, we went to Hubbard and Craven's. And when I met her, she was wearing a Beastie Boys t-shirt. And I was like, this is the right person for me. I'm so excited to connect with her. And we just really hit it off from there. And I had a lot of gaps that she was very skilled in and vice versa. And so we got to know each other through that job and started taking on some side projects together. That agency that we were at, they really shifted gears to do more like Salesforce implementation and more that like heavy tech that Megan and I were more kind of traditional marketing generalists. We weren't like dying to learn Salesforce. And so we started taking on a couple projects on the side and we got the blessing of that agency to do our own thing as long as we weren't doing Salesforce implementation. We're like, don't worry, we will not be taking on any Salesforce.
Right.
And it just kind of grew from there. We were able to be really thoughtful and strategic about the type of clients that we worked with. It was wonderful. I think it grew a little quicker than either of us thought it was going to. And that was kind of a unique challenge during the pandemic where we both had kids who were e-learning and the rug was kind of pulled out from under us. And so during the pandemic, I was lucky that my husband managed a lot of our kids' educational needs. And I was able to keep working as usual in the spare bedroom upstairs with my headphones on and getting stuff done. And so during that time, Megan stepped away from the business and I was able to kind of step in more. Megan has since retired and I bought her half of the business thanks to some wonderful mentorship from Quade allies. And yeah, now it's very funny to me that I'm technically like the big boss here, which sometimes I forget. I'm like, wait a second, what do you mean? I just graduated college. How could I be? But no, I actually graduated college like 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's funny. Talk about the origination of the name, because I think that's cool too.
Yes. So first and foremost, it is very hard to find a name where the URL is available. There's no trademark or copyright issues, and the social handles are available. So we had maybe a dozen other names that we loved that weren't available. And so we decided we were going to combine an adjective and a noun to up our chances of somebody else not having that combination. And green came from, Megan and I, it's both of our favorite color, but it's also a very popular word in marketing, evergreen, which is where you create something that has a lasting impact. It's not viral, it's not seasonal, it's not a flash in a pan, something that's going to matter long term, like an evergreen tree, which does not ever shed its needles or leaves. And then loop, we wanted to have some type of nod to Indianapolis. So we kept trying to think of synonyms for circle, and we came up with loop. And here we are. It's the first thing anybody wants to know is, where did the name come from?
Yeah.
So it's fun to talk about.
That's cool. I want to come back in a minute to, you said already that you started to focus on specific types of clients and stuff. So I want to come back to that. But before that, go back. Did you always want to own your own company and be your own boss? How did that come about?
Not necessarily. I had an incredible role model growing up. So I was raised by a single mom who worked in retail management as I was growing up and was a leader at work. She traveled a lot. She made a lot of decisions for the company that she worked for. And I always thought that that was special. And so I always knew that I wanted to work. I wanted to have a career. That was important to me. But I actually had planned on being a professor. So that was what I really wanted to do. And maybe someday, down the line, I will still become a professor, but I wanted to write papers and do research. I went to grad school and I had a terrible experience in grad school. I had incredible professors and the program itself was wonderful. But this is, I guess, kind of an example of what I'm like as a leader. I had wanted to create a study group where we can all prepare for exams together. And I had put together a study guide for me to use. And then I shared it with other people in the class. And I remember there was this girl in my class who was like, you're never going to be a top professor if you keep wanting to help the other people around you. You should be fighting for you. You're going to want tenure. You're going to want your papers to be published. Why would you give people the study guide? And I was like, why would I not? If I wanted to be a professor, this would be the perfect example of how I could support a classroom and help people who are investing money in their education. I want this to be something special for them that is beneficial. And this woman, she was like a dog with a bone. She was like, well, at least I don't have to worry about competing against you. And I was like, what is wrong with this?
Wow.
At the time, I was working full time. It was during the recession, 2008, 2009. I'm not going to keep investing money in this if my classmates are going to talk to me like this. Like, I'm going to take a break. Maybe I'll come back. Maybe I won't. I'm a grad school dropout. And I just poured into work instead. And now I'm tangenting. You had asked if this is something I always wanted to do. No, not necessarily. I worked at law firms. I worked in tech. I worked in startups. I had my second son, and the tech startup I was working at, it had been acquired, and it was really intense. And it was kind of all hours of the day demands. And I was like, listen, I got this baby that's making all hours demands. I can't have a boss that's making all hours demands. So I decided to leave that job with nothing else lined up but my family and just started freelancing on the side. And that kind of grew, and then met Megan, and yeah.
That's great. What's funny, and I always laugh about this, is you had a 24-hour demanding boss and all that kind of stuff. And so what would you do? You start your own company where you can set your own hours and not have to worry about any of that, right? It's super easy.
Oh, boy. I mean, that was part of the gig. And my husband always teases me about that. He's like, didn't you start this so you wouldn't have to work at 10 p.m.? And I was like, yeah, sort of. But now at least I know that my teammates aren't working at 10 p.m. Part of the gig when you own your own business is that you have to work as needed, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that means you got to answer a call when you're on vacation, or you have to get up at 6 one day and knock some stuff out before a meeting. And as long as the number of those days is smaller than the number of days that I get to be in control of my schedule, then I feel like I'm doing something right.
I think that's right. And it's rewarding too, right? Like you're doing it because it really it's something that's meaningful to you. And we talk about it a lot. The old moniker of work-life balance, right? That doesn't exist. It's a falsity, and it's work-life integration is really how it goes. And so, like you said, yeah, I may have to take a phone call while I'm on vacation, but hey, I'm on vacation and I can go on vacation when I want to, when I need to, and do that. And I can go to my kids' ball games and I can go to whatever I want to do. But I also have to make sure that I'm doing the right stuff for my company, for my employees, for my clients, for all that kind of stuff. You've heard me say it 100 times. everybody thinks that owning your own company is easy and wonderful and you can pay yourself whatever you want and you can take time off. It's like, no, my hourly rate sucks.
Yeah, I calculated my hourly rate maybe like a year ago, and it was so low that I didn't tell anybody. Like I didn't tell my husband or anything like that because like I can laugh it off. But I think like if my team knew what my hourly rate was, they'd be like, ma'am, we got an issue.
Yeah. But again, we do it because we love it, right? It's fulfilling. And we'll obviously dive into talking about peer groups here in a minute. But I think that's one of the powers of a peer group is you're literally get to hang out with people that are experiencing that same thing and you don't have to explain it to them, right? Like if somebody's never owned their own company or they've never sat in the CEO seat, they can't fathom that. You said you wouldn't share your calculated hourly rate with anybody because they'd be like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah. Go get a job where you can make more than you're making now. Because I probably could. I could probably go to a big corporation in Indianapolis or in the Midwest, and I could make maybe 2 or 3 times what I'm making now. But I can't leave in the middle of the day to go volunteer at my kids' book fair. It all evens out, I think. My kids are always going to remember me being at their stuff. And yeah, the work is hard, but it's worth it.
We'll dive back into the conversation in just a moment. But first, a quick word from one of our strategic partners, Ice Miller. For more than a century, Ice Miller has helped clients navigate the full range of legal and business issues they face. Whether it be in the boardroom or the courtroom, our lawyers have evolved with the marketplace, providing sound counsel when you need it the most. Though our Midwest roots run deep, we serve clients from coast to coast and bring to bear international capabilities and insights. As a cohesive team, Ice Miller stands ready to provide cutting-edge legal solutions tailored to you. Learn more at icemiller.com.
I told you I wanted to come back to this. So one of the things that you said up front was when you and Megan were launching Green Loop, you focused on a specific type of client. And one of the things that I've watched you do that I think is so brilliant is you truly focus on those types of clients that you can serve really well. And you have some niches and that type of stuff, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about you'll only work with clients that you want to work with. I've seen you walk away from clients that either didn't align with your values or didn't treat your teammates right or whatever. And I'd love for you to expand upon that. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when you've got revenue coming in the door and you're like, God, I'm going to walk away from X $1,000 a year of income, but it's not worth it.
Yeah. And, it's not a decision that we ever take lightly. It's never my decision. It's our decision as a team. And it's a lot of number crunching and a lot of thinking about the things that are not trackable. Like I can track the dollars and the hours and things like that, but you can't really track, does everybody who's working on this account, are they dreading every time they have to get on that call? Is this something that literally keeps them up at night? Being able to have a culture where you can say, hey, I'm having such a hard time here. Like, of course, there's always going to be some like, well, dang, I hate work because work sucks.
Right.
Even if you like your job, work sucks. But if somebody is really, sick to their stomach before they have to talk to a client because they don't know, is that client going to rip apart the work they're doing? Are they going to insult them or yell at them? That's just not a way to live. I think in some ways that makes Green Loop a little bit of an anti-agency. And we specifically designed the company so we did not have to work with assholes. When we have those open conversations and we decide together like, hey, we're going to part ways from this client. In a lot of ways, it is a leap of faith because even if it's a small size client, it's always easier in most ways to keep a client than it is to get a new client. But you have to take a leap of faith that there is always going to be more work out there. And there's going to be better work out there. And you won't have time for that better work if you are spending so much time and energy on a bad client. And, a good client can become a bad client, but a bad client really cannot become a good client. And there's only so much you can tell in the beginning. It's kind of like dating. You're dating this person, it's going really well. You think, okay, well, maybe we'll move in together. And then you move in together and you're like, whoa, where was that guy that I went to dinner with? Who are you? You never quite know until you're really in the thick of it. And that's not to say, it's one strike, you're out, because that's definitely not the case. this is something that we talk about in depth for usually a few months before we make that decision. But yeah, just kind of having that trust that there is more and better out there. And every single time we've let a client go, something better has come along.
Yeah.
But it is really, really scary.
Yeah, no doubt. But I applaud you for doing that and taking that stand. And again, I think this is one of the reasons why we launch our own companies, right? Is we want to work with people we want to work with, and we can make that decision. And I think that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, because I think that gives a great insight of kind of who you are as a person, who you are as a leader, and type of company that you're building at Green Loop. I'm going to switch gears and talk about your experiences in Quade and in the peer group and that type of stuff. And I was thinking about this. When I was launching Quade, I ran into you in an office lobby one day. And I don't know if you remember this, but we knew each other, but we didn't know each other really well. And I mentioned what I was starting and kind of pitched you on it a little bit in my little elevator speech or whatever. And you were curious, but cautious and not really sure if it was right for you and that type of stuff. And probably a year later, you joined a Quade circle. So why? What made you change your mind and take that kind of leap of faith on something that you, I believe, had never been really exposed to before? It certainly was not my amazing sales pitch. So
one of the reasons I joined is because I like you. And also Ginger, our mutual friend, was like, hey, I think this could be really good for you. And I trust her judgment. And so that was part of it. I do think I had a very interesting kind of shift in my leadership where when Green Loop started, I had a buddy every day. And Megan and I talked all day, every day about poor Megan. I mean, every thought I ever had. I was like, what about that? And then when she had stepped back from the business, I was still talking to her regularly, but I also didn't want to bombard her with a bunch of stuff that she was trying to move away from. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need an outlet. This is the loneliest in my career I had ever been. I, in general, am kind of an oversharer, which in some cases it works out well. I do feel like my colleagues, for example, they have a lot of transparency into everything going on at Green Loop. And generally, that's a good thing because it's something that they found that they haven't had in other jobs, and they're thankful to know kind of the ins and outs of what I personally am working on the leadership side. But I always want to be sure I'm not overwhelming them. If I'm having stressful thoughts or negative thoughts, I don't want them to think, oh my gosh, are things going bad? It's no, Melanie just jumps to the worst conclusion at all times. But I don't want to scare anybody. And so being able to come and talk to the allies every month about every thought I'm having, good, bad, medium, and for somebody to raise their hand and say, oh my gosh, I went through that. It's just, I, in general, feel like a crazy person all the time. When I'm at our circles, I feel like, oh my gosh, A, these people are crazy too. And B, I'm not by myself. Somebody else has been through this. Somebody else has had to work on this really challenging HR situation, or they can explain these things that I don't understand. My accountant's telling me things that I don't know what this means. Can somebody help? I know that I can call Tina and Lauren and they're going to talk me through every detail.
Do you remember your first meeting?
Oh, I do. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Would you share how it kicked off and what role you played?
Yes. Okay. So I got lost on the way there. So I arrived a little bit late, which I hate being late. I hate it so much. And so I was naturally a little frazzled when I walked in. And I went in thinking I'm going to be meeting a lot of different people with different perspectives. And I walked in and there were just 6 of us, that first original 6.
That's right.
And it was 3 of those 6 were white guys and 2 of them were in finance. And I was like, geez, another white guy in finance who's going to tell me how to run my business. Great. And so, I was late. I was in a bad mood. There were all these white guys. I was annoyed. And then people started talking. And somehow, I don't know if you picked me out of a hat or what, but I was the first person to give my exploration. And I, again, overshared, shared every thought I've ever had in my life, cried. And I thought, he's not going to ask me to come back. Oh my God, what have I done? And then the way that the people in the group responded to me in that moment, I was not expecting it at all. I had friendship and care right out of the gate. It was amazing. I left there thinking, on one hand, oh my God, I shared too much. They think I'm insane. And then again, I thought, no, they responded with love and friendship, and they're also insane. And we can be insane together here.
Yeah, that's it. And I did pull you out of hat because, again, I didn't know your overshareability at that point. But you truly, and I say this out of admiration, you set the tone for that circle. And your willingness to be vulnerable right from the jump showed your allies what this whole experience was supposed to be about. That vulnerability has built trust, which, second only to confidentiality, is the biggest key to a successful circle. So grateful for you that you didn't get scared from all the white guys in finance. You had made a comment one time to me about that. One of the guys, Mike, was your complete opposite. Talk about that and how that diversity within the circle was really important to you and valuable to you.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of challenged the way that I think about diversity, which quite literally black and white. But now knowing like diversity in terms of experience and age is something I think about a lot more. Because Mike was one of the white guys in finance, and I was like, geez, this guy. Mike completely changed my life. The mentorship and friendship that he has shown me, he has helped guide me through really tough decisions. The experience that he has in his career and in his life that he was willing to share with me, I don't know how I would have found that otherwise, or how I could have afforded to like pay an expert at Mike's level to help me. It really changed the trajectory of my life. Also, he is somebody who challenges me a lot and says, why do you think that? Why would you say that? And not in a combative way, just in a tell me more way. Let's figure that out. And it's very interesting when people do that in a way that's caring and you feel safe to respond truthfully and as yourself. With this current landscape, a lot of people are trying to like get you. When someone challenges you, it can feel like an attack, and it has never felt that way. And very similarly, Lauren has been an incredible friend in my life and almost like a brother in a lot of ways, because we're almost the same age and we've had a lot of very similar life experiences growing up as millennials. And just the advice that those two have given me and how they have helped me personally and professionally has changed my life. I know that sounds very dramatic, but it is. I'm so grateful for them.
I've said it, right? It's why I started Quade, is because I joined a CEO peer group now 18 years ago. I'm still in it, and it changed my life 18 years ago, literally. So yeah, no, I get it. That's wonderful to hear. And it's funny, you and I have a ton of similarities, but that's what I always say too. I'm like, this is going to sound really dramatic, but it changed my life, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen you grow as a leader, but talk about how being in a peer group has helped you change as a leader and grow as a leader.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot leading up to this conversation. And the number one thing for me has been not feeling as lonely in my role. But a very close second has been developing the confidence to lead. Mm-hmm. I'm not a super confident person. And I think there's a lot of societal things, and being a woman who grew up in the millennial aughts and kind of society was designed to make us not confident. But in a lot of times when I'll bring up concerns I have in the group or challenges I'm facing, it'll kind of come back to, well, you're in charge here, and lean into being in charge. Like I had mentioned earlier, like, how can I be running this company when I just graduated? There have been a lot of times, especially early in Green Loop, where I felt like I was a little kid playing work and like bringing my briefcase and, I guess I'll play work today. And I was really selling myself short on my capabilities and who I am as a leader. And obviously not perfect. Obviously I have a long way to go and to grow, and all of us do, but I am a strong leader, and there's a lot of things that I'm doing really well. And I tend to not focus on those things. I focus on, I could have 100 positive emails in my inbox and one that's even the tiniest bit negative. Not even really that negative. Could be like neutral. And that's the one that I would obsess over. And I would forget about all the positive emails. And so kind of challenging my way of thinking to realize I'm doing a lot of things right. I have wonderful colleagues, wonderful clients, a ton of great work under our belts that I can look to as evidence of things that are going well. And yeah, just leaning into that and being more confident in my leadership, my decision-making, and what we've built here at Green Loop.
That's awesome. Well, you are a badass, and don't forget that. If you were talking to somebody who was considering joining a peer group, what are a couple things you would share, and what do they need to do to get the most out of that experience?
Ooh, yes. I do think, like a lot of things in life, you get back what you put in. And if you don't show up physically or mentally, I forget who said the quote, but 80% of success is showing up or something.
Yeah.
You have to show up, you have to listen, and you have to be vulnerable, because you can't expect that from other people if you're not willing to give that. Something that drives me crazy if I'm at coffee with someone, or not necessarily in Quade groups, but just in conversation in general, is when somebody has their phone on the table, or they like keep looking at like their Apple Watch or something. It's like, how engaged are you in this conversation if you keep looking down at your phone?
Yep.
And so showing up physically, but also showing up present in the conversation. Sometimes we have something on our mind that's so big where we can't be present. So I don't want to say this is like all or nothing.
Yeah.
But focus on the people that you're conversing with. Listen to them, offer feedback, ask questions. Something that's really great about our group is people ask a ton of questions. And it kind of reminds me of therapy in a lot of ways, because my therapist is always asking me questions to help guide me towards the right answer. And then when I get there, I feel like I got there myself. And in some ways I did. But yeah, it's just really, really rich conversation, but you have to contribute and you have to be present. So those are the things I would say are most important. I also want people to understand it is a commitment time-wise. Every month, and I've joked with other people, I don't know if I've ever told you this, I see this 4 or 5 hour block on my calendar and I think, oh God, I don't have those 5 hours. I don't have those 5 hours. But I go because I made a commitment. And it takes maybe 20, 30 minutes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I came.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I came to this. But every month, even though I know it's going to be a good meeting, I just think, oh gosh, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. But then when I'm there, I'm glad I'm there. So yeah, making sure that you're committed to the group and committed to people individually. In addition to that in-person time together, I like to check in with people a couple times a month and just say, hey, I want to follow up on that thing you mentioned, or you noted a specific date and today's that date. How did that conversation go? Or how did that appointment go? And just let people know, hey, I'm in your corner and I remembered what you said and I want to follow up because I care about how it went and I care about you. So I also think making a little bit of extra time throughout the month to check on these people who you love and you care about and feel the same about you, it's worth it. It's such an important step in building relationships that it goes a long way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that would be my advice and how I would manage expectations.
I could hang out with you all day, but we've got bills to pay and they leave us with like 30 minutes to do this thing. So I'm going to start to wrap it up. But one of the things that's been so cool for me is to kind of turn and focus on you and kind of your head and your heart a little bit and ask you for your I believe statement. So if I look at you and I say, Melanie, what do you believe? What is that?
I believe people are more than their work, which is really hard for me to say because as an Enneagram 3, oldest daughter, high achiever, I am obsessed with my work. And a lot of times I will let my work define me. But, you know, if I have a team member who says, hey, I've maybe got a family thing or I have something else on my mind that's pulling me away from work, no questions asked, I will say, take the rest of the day off, go for a walk, eat a good meal, get some rest. And this is going to be here tomorrow. I mean that from the bottom of my heart is if you have a lot of stuff going on in your life and you're not focused on those things or facing those things, they're only going to compound. And you can't run away from life through work. And you're able to show up better for the people in your life and in your work if you are giving yourself the time to rest, to take breaks, to focus on friends and family and other things you have going on. So the work will always be there. If you need to take a long lunch, if you need to take a Friday off, if you just need a breather, take it. Obviously, if you're taking a long lunch every day, then maybe we're having a different talk. But you can't take care of the things you need to take care of at work, the work itself, the clients, your teammates, unless you're taking care of yourself.
Yep. I love it. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
Thanks for hanging out today. Thank you for being an amazing ally. Thank you for the impact that you've had on me and for Quade. I really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Quade has been so special to me. And the people that I've met through this group, incredible.
They're not bad.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, very cool. So we're going to wrap it up. And I'm just going to say this was super fun for me. For you out there, again, we found yet another path to the entrepreneur seat. that further confirm that there is no one way that will get you there. There's rarely a straight line. People come from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, and they get there in their own unique and personal way. And Melanie hit another one today. So really cool. I hope that this episode reached you at some level. If it did, please listen to some more of our other episodes that are incredible and subscribe to hear our new ones. Until next time, I'm Mark McFatridge. I'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you for joining today's conversation. If our discussion has sparked your interest in our community of unapologetically authentic leaders, head on over to QuadeCircle.com, where you can learn more about Quade and take our exclusive CEO Mindset Assessment to help elevate your leadership journey. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and leave a review to help us continue delivering valuable insights and inspiring stories from top business leaders.